Okay, so me and all my technological skill, what I've done is I've put the problem into a Word document and I decided to explain it over video because my train of thought probably would take too long to write. So what I did was I took problem 2 and I wrote it out, highlighting what I thought was the key information. So we have a man and his partner. Now it's interesting in the wording of this problem that they didn't say two hosts. They exclusively made the partner on his own. We know that the host and their guests shake hands with each other, so that was part of the problem. And I found it interesting that it was irrelevant that not everybody shakes hands with each other. We know that 11 different answers have come up when the host asks how many hands each person shook. Now I highlighted in green what the actual problem is, what we need to find out. That's how many hands did the partner shake. So what I did was I collected evidence that we know, things that we still don't know that could be relevant to the problem. To understand the problem, I thought it would be important to know the factors that could make it go either way. So what we know is that there are 10 guests, meaning 12 people in all. If 11 answers were given, then the host partner had to have answered. It's irrelevant that not everybody shook hands with one another. We don't know why that's irrelevant, because it would give us a good look into how many hands the partner did shake. But we need to know how many the partner shook. What we don't know is what the occasion was for the party. Might not seem like a huge detail, but in a story problem like this, if this was in a scenario where the partner was being introduced to everybody, that would have definitely affected how many hands he shook. We don't know who shook hands and who didn't shake hands with one another. Now that is key information, because if we know who didn't shake the partner's hand, that would give us a big hint on how many hands he actually shook. Why did the host want to know who shook hands with whom? Again, this gives us a little bit of a detail on what the context of the party is that we're working with. And what are the social cultural norms of the host, his partner, and the guests? If this is not a group that, handshakes a whole lot, that would affect our sample as well. So to devise a plan, I used basic probability, not so much in the sense that I have the frequency of events happening, but I can get a good sense based on the word and based on the language of the problem of what could have occurred. So I have the host and his partner here and the 5 sets of guests. I made a chart of each person, and this is assuming that everybody shook hands with everybody. Now, if it's not relevant who didn't shake hands with who and why, then we have to assume that it doesn't interfere with the problem. So, at the maximum, this is how many people shook hands with everybody else. The partner occurs in each sequence. You can speculate that because he would be helping with hosting, that he would want to shake almost everybody's hand, but we don't know that. So, I have highlighted any time the partner comes up in the series of handshakes. Now scrolling down a bit, we can't give a solid answer. The maximum amount of hands that he could have shook, my grammar is not very good, would be 10 hands. We know from the problem that no partner shook the other partner's hand. So he would only shake hands with the 10 guests. That's the most people he can shake hands with. The minimum would have been 1. And I'll explain that answer in just a moment. So to give an answer, I gave a range. He shook from 1 to 10 hands. Not very concrete, but that is what we can give with the information that we have. Now to look back on this problem, this is the kind of my justification for giving a range of answers instead of just one integer. If it's irrelevant that not everyone shook hands with everyone else, then there can be no singular answer. If it doesn't matter who wasn't included, then there's really no way to find out exactly how many hands the partner could have shaken. If we don't know who shook hands with whom, we don't know for certain how many hands the partner shook, which is basically what I just said. If the host received 11 answers, the partner had to respond to the question. If it's unlikely that he would respond if he didn't shake anybody's hand, and if you can speculate the context of the problem, we know that he had to have shaken someone's hand. Otherwise, he might not have participated in the conversation. If handshaking was occurring, probability allows a range of answers with a key language such as likely, possibly, and probable, as most of the problem depends on conjecture. There really is no formula because we don't have anything that's known. And most times if you're going to develop an equation or anything like that, you have to know some kind of data. All we know here is what we can speculate, so that is my justification for the answer of this problem. I hope that it's somewhat right. Like I said before, problem solving is not my forte, but this is the best shot that I gave it.